Every morning, thousands of people wake up with a dream burning in their chest. They want to build something of their own. They imagine the freedom, the success, the impact they could make. They see themselves as the next big entrepreneur, the one who breaks through and changes everything. But here's the brutal truth that nobody wants to hear. Most of them will fail. Not because they lack talent. Not because their ideas are bad. Not because the market is too competitive. They fail because of one massive mistake that kills dreams faster than anything else. This mistake is so common that it's almost invisible. It hides in plain sight. It disguises itself as hard work, as dedication, as commitment. People make this error every single day. And they don't even realize they're doing it until it's too late. By then, they've already burned through their savings, exhausted their energy, and lost the fire that made them want to start in the first place. The saddest part is that this mistake is completely avoidable. Oh no. If you know what to look for, you can sidestep it entirely and dramatically increase your chances of success. So, what is this mistake? What's the one thing that separates the entrepreneurs who make it from those who crash and burn? It's not about money. It's not about connections. It's not even about having the perfect product. The biggest mistake is this: trying to build everything perfectly before you show it to anyone. Let that sink in for a moment. Entrepreneurs spent months, sometimes years, building their dream product in complete isolation. They think they need every feature perfect. They believe they must have everything polished and flawless before they can launch. They convince themselves that nobody will take them seriously unless their offering is absolutely perfect. This perfectionism becomes a prison. It keeps brilliant ideas locked away from the world. It prevents real feedback from real customers. It creates a dangerous illusion that you can predict what people want without actually asking them. And here's the thing that makes it even worse. While you're busy perfecting your creation in your garage or your home office, the world is moving on. Markets are shifting. Customer needs are evolving. Competitors are launching. Opportunities are passing by. Time becomes your enemy instead of your ally. Think about it this way. Imagine you want to build a restaurant. You have this vision of the perfect dining experience. You spend 2 years designing the space, perfecting every recipe, training your staff to be absolutely flawless. You don't invite anyone to taste the food. You don't test any dishes on real people. You just work based on what you think people will love. Then finally, after all this time and money, you open your door. And you discover that your target customers don't like the type of cuisine you're serving. They find your portions too small. They think your prices are too high. Your location isn't convenient for them. All that time, all that effort, all that money spent on perfection, and it was based on assumptions that were wrong. This happens in business every single day. Someone creates a software product with 100 features only to find out users wanted something simple. Someone designs a complex service offering only to discover customers needed just one specific solution. Someone builds an elaborate business model only to learn the market wanted something completely different. The tragedy isn't that they failed. Oh no. The tragedy is that they could have learned all of this in the first month instead of after 2 years. The entrepreneurs who succeed understand something crucial. They know that perfection is the enemy of progress. They realize that real learning only happens when you put your product in front of actual customers. They embrace the uncomfortable truth that their first version will be imperfect, incomplete, and maybe even a little embarrassing. And they launch anyway. They get their minimum viable product out into the world as fast as possible. They collect feedback. They learn. They adapt. They improve based on real data instead of assumptions. This doesn't mean being sloppy or careless. Wow. It doesn't mean putting out garbage and calling it a product. It means being strategic about what truly matters in the beginning. It means understanding the difference between essential features and nice-to-have additions. It means focusing on the core value proposition that solves a real problem for real people. Hey. Well, everything else can come later after you've validated that people actually want what you're building. Let me tell you about someone who understood this principle perfectly. He started with an idea for a website. Instead of building a massive platform with every feature he could imagine, he created the simplest version possible. It was rough around the edges. It had bugs. Well, it lacked many features that seemed important, but it solved one specific problem really well. He showed it to a small group of potential users. They loved the core concept, but gave him feedback about what wasn't working. He spent a week making adjustments. Then he showed it to more people. He kept iterating based on real feedback from real users. Within 3 months, he had a product that people were actually paying for. Not because it was perfect. Not because it had every imaginable feature. But because it solved a real problem that people cared about. Over time, he added more features. He improved the design. He fixed the bugs. But he did all of this based on actual user feedback and behavior, not on his assumptions about what they might want. Today, his company generates millions in revenue. And it all started with an imperfect product that he was brave enough to show the world. Compare that to someone else with a similar idea. This person also wanted to build a platform, but he took a different approach. He spent 18 months building in secret. He wanted everything perfect before launch. He added every feature he could think of. He obsessed over the design. He made sure there were no bugs. He was so proud of what he built. Then he launched and nobody cared. The few people who tried it found it confusing because it had too many features. They couldn't figure out what the platform was actually for. They didn't understand the value because it tried to do too many things at once. This person spent another 6 months trying to market his perfect product. He ran out of money. He burned out emotionally. Eventually, he had to shut down and get a regular job to pay his bills. Oh no. The heartbreaking part is that buried somewhere in his complex platform was probably a great, simple idea, but he never found it because he never gave himself the chance to learn from real users. He was so focused on his vision of perfection that he ignored the most important lesson in business. The customer is always right about what they need, even if they can't articulate it clearly. This pattern repeats itself constantly in the business world. Someone has a great idea. They disappear into their workshop to build it. They emerge months or years later with something they think is perfect. And the market shrugs. Nobody cares. Nobody buys. Nobody uses it. The entrepreneur is confused and heartbroken. They worked so hard. They sacrificed so much. Well, how could people not see the value? The answer is simple but painful. They built what they thought people wanted instead of what people actually needed. The solution to this problem is both simple and terrifying. You have to be willing to look stupid. You have to be comfortable showing people something that isn't finished. You have to develop thick skin because some people will criticize you. Some will laugh. Some will say your idea will never work. And you know what? That's exactly what you need to hear. Because mixed in with the noise and the negativity, there will be golden nuggets of truth. There will be insights about what's working and what isn't. There will be suggestions you never considered. There will be validation for the parts that truly matter. Hey, this is why the concept of the minimum viable product exists. It's not about being lazy or cutting corners. It's about being smart with your most valuable resource, time. Every day you spend building features that customers don't want is a day wasted. Every hour you spend perfecting something that doesn't matter is an hour you could have spent learning what does matter. Hey, the goal is to create the smallest possible version of your product that delivers real value to real customers. Then you get it into their hands immediately and watch what happens. When you do this, something magical occurs. You shift from operating on assumptions to operating on knowledge. You stop guessing and start knowing. You discover that some features you thought were essential don't matter at all. You find out that some small detail you almost overlooked is actually the most important thing. You learn that your target customer is different from who you imagined. You understand that your pricing strategy needs adjustment. You realize that your marketing message isn't landing the way you thought it would. All of this information is gold. It's worth more than any amount of planning or theorizing. But here's where it gets even better. When you launch early with an imperfect product, you create momentum. You start generating revenue, even if it's small at first. You build a community of early adopters who feel invested in your success because they were there from the beginning. Now, you create proof that your idea has merit, which makes it easier to raise money or recruit team members. You give yourself room to pivot if needed because you haven't invested everything into one rigid vision. You maintain your energy and enthusiasm because you're getting real feedback instead of working in isolation. Think about some of the most successful companies in the world. No. Did they start with a perfect product? Absolutely not. They started with something rough and improved it over time based on user feedback. That social media platform you use every day. It started as a simple directory for college students. That streaming service you watch? It started by mailing DVDs. That online marketplace where you buy everything. It started selling only books. These companies succeeded because they got started, learned from their customers, and adapted continuously. The fear of launching something imperfect runs deep in most people. We live in a world where we see only the polished final result. We see the successful companies after they've made it big. We see the viral products after they've been refined. We see the profitable businesses after they've figured everything out. We don't see the messy beginnings. We don't see the early versions that were clunky and limited. We don't see the mistakes and failures along the way. This creates a distorted view of what it takes to succeed. We think we need to match the quality of established companies right from day one. That's impossible and unnecessary. Your first version of anything will not be great. Accept that right now. Your first product will have flaws. Your first service will have gaps. Your first attempt will be imperfect. And that's not just okay, it's actually ideal. Because if your first version is too polished, it means you waited too long to launch. It means you spent time perfecting things that might not even matter. It means you missed opportunities to learn and grow. The goal isn't to be perfect on day one. The goal is to be better on day 30 than you were on day 1. And then better on day 90 than you were on day 30. That's how you build something real. This mindset shift is incredibly freeing once you embrace it. You stop agonizing over every tiny detail. You stop second-guessing yourself constantly. You stop letting fear paralyze you. Instead, you focus on action. You ask yourself, what's the smallest thing I can build that will provide value and help me learn? Then you build that thing as quickly as possible. You show it to people. You listen to their feedback. You make it better. You repeat this cycle over and over. Each iteration teaches you something new. Each version gets you closer to product market fit. Product market fit is the holy grail of starting a business. It's that magical moment when what you're offering perfectly matches what the market wants. Some people get lucky and achieve it quickly. Most people have to search for it through experimentation and iteration. You cannot find product market fit by thinking really hard or doing more research. You find it by putting products in front of customers and seeing what resonates. The faster you can run these experiments, the faster you can find that fit. And the only way to run experiments quickly is to launch imperfect versions and learn from them. Let me share another story that illustrates this perfectly. There was a woman who wanted to start a consulting business. She had expertise in helping companies improve their operations. She spent months developing comprehensive frameworks, creating detailed presentations, and designing elaborate assessment tools. She wanted to be able to offer a complete professional service from day one. She didn't tell anyone about her business because she felt she wasn't ready yet. She worked nights and weekends perfecting her approach while keeping her full-time job. After nearly a year of preparation, she finally felt ready. She created a website, announced her services, and waited for clients. Nothing happened. She reached out to her network. A few people expressed mild interest, but nobody hired her. She was devastated. Preparation. Then she met a mentor who asked her a simple question. Have you actually talked to potential clients about their problems and what they need? She realized she hadn't. She had been so focused on building her service that she never validated whether anyone wanted it. She changed her approach completely. She reached out to people in her network and offered free consulting sessions just to learn about their challenges. She didn't try to sell anything. She just listened. What she discovered shocked her. The problems she thought companies faced weren't actually their biggest concerns. They had different pain points that she hadn't considered. Her elaborate frameworks were too complex for what they needed. They wanted simple, practical solutions they could implement immediately. Armed with this knowledge, she pivoted. She stripped her service down to the basics. She created a simple offering focused on the one problem that kept coming up in her conversations. She reached out to people again, this time with this simplified service. Within 2 weeks, she had her first paying client. Within 3 months, she had enough clients to quit her job. Within a year, she had built a 6-figure business. None of this would have happened if she had stayed in preparation mode. She had to get out there, face rejection, learn from real conversations, and adapt her approach. This is the pattern that successful entrepreneurs follow. They start with an idea. They test it quickly with a minimal version. They gather feedback. They adjust. They test again. They keep iterating until they find something that works. Then they scale it. At no point in this process are they trying to be perfect. They're trying to be effective. They're trying to learn as much as possible as quickly as possible. They understand that speed of learning is more important than polish. The perfection trap is especially dangerous because it feels like you're being productive. You're working hard. You're making progress on your product. You're crossing items off your to-do list. It feels good to check off features and improvements. But all of this activity creates an illusion of progress. Oh. Real progress in business is measured by one thing: validated learning about your customers and market. If you're not interacting with real customers, you're not making real progress, no matter how much work you're doing. This is why so many startups fail, despite having smart, hardworking founders. It's not that they don't work hard enough. They often work too hard on the wrong thing. They optimize and perfect before they validate. They scale before they find product market fit. They invest heavily in infrastructure before they have customers. They hire a team before they have revenue. They do everything right according to traditional business logic, but they ignore the most important rule. Learn what customers want before you build your empire. The antidote to perfectionism is experimentation. Treat your business like a series of experiments rather than a single grand plan. Each experiment is designed to test an assumption. Does this target market have the problem I think they have? Will they pay for a solution? How much will they pay? What features matter most to them? Which marketing channels reach them effectively? Now, every experiment should be as small and quick as possible. The faster you can run experiments, the faster you can learn, and the better your chances of success. This experimental mindset also helps you deal with failure differently. When your grand, perfect plan fails, it's devastating. You put everything into it. You believed in it completely. Its failure feels like your failure. But when a small experiment fails, it's just data. It tells you that particular approach didn't work. You learn from it and try something else. There's no emotional devastation because you didn't invest your entire identity in that one experiment. This psychological difference is huge. It keeps you motivated and resilient through the inevitable setback. Many entrepreneurs resist this approach because they worry about their reputation. They think if they launch something rough, people will judge them forever. They fear that showing weakness or imperfection will damage their brand. This fear is mostly unfounded. The truth is that most people are incredibly supportive of genuine effort and honesty. If you say, "Hey, this is a rough first version, and I'd love your feedback," people will usually respond positively. They appreciate being included in the journey. They like feeling that their input matters. They respect the courage it takes to show imperfect work. On the flip side, if you launch something claiming it's perfect and it has obvious flaws, people will be critical. They'll point out everything wrong with it. They'll question your competence. The expectations you set matter enormously. Set expectations for a perfect product, and you'll be judged harshly for any flaws. Set expectations for an early-stage experiment, and people will be supportive and helpful. The difference is entirely in how you frame what you're doing. Another benefit of launching early is that it forces you to focus. When you have unlimited time to build, feature creep becomes a huge problem. You keep adding just one more thing. You keep thinking of new ideas to include. Your product becomes bloated with features that seemed important in theory but don't matter in practice. When you set a tight deadline to launch something minimal, you have to make hard choices. You have to decide what's truly essential. This constraint is actually a gift. It forces clarity and simplicity, which are usually what customers want anyway. There's also a financial reality to consider. Most people starting a business from scratch have limited resources. Whether you're funding it yourself or you've raised some money, every dollar counts. Spending months or years, Building before generating revenue is incredibly risky. You're burning through your runway without validating that your business model works. The longer you wait to get revenue, the more pressure you feel, and the more desperate your eventual launch becomes. Starting to generate even small amounts of revenue early gives you breathing room and proof of concept. This doesn't mean you should launch garbage. There's a difference between minimum viable and minimum terrible. Your product needs to deliver on its core promise. It needs to solve the main problem you're targeting. It needs to work reliably for that core function. Well, it doesn't need every bell and whistle. It doesn't need perfect design. It doesn't need comprehensive features. It needs to do one thing well enough that someone would pay for it or use it regularly. That's your bar for the first version. Once you have that first version in the market, your entire business changes. You're no longer guessing. You have real data. You can see how people actually use your product versus how you thought they would use it. You can see which features they love and which they ignore. You can see where they get confused or frustrated. You can see what value they get from it. All of this information guides your next step. You stop building based on hunches and start building based on evidence. This iterative approach also helps you avoid the sunk cost fallacy. If you spend 2 years building something before testing it and then discover it's not what the market wants, you're emotionally invested. You've put so much time and energy into this specific vision that it's incredibly hard to pivot. You'll likely keep pushing your original idea, trying to convince the market to accept it, rather than adapting to what the market actually wants. But if you test early with a minimal version, you're not deeply invested in any specific implementation. You can pivot easily because you haven't sunk years of your life into one approach. The psychological aspect of this cannot be overstated. Starting a business is emotionally challenging. You face constant uncertainty and self-doubt. You wonder if you're making the right choices. You question whether your idea is good enough. You fear failure and rejection. When you're working in isolation on a perfect product, all of these doubts amplify. You have no external validation. You have no evidence that you're on the right track. You only have your own beliefs and hopes. This is mentally exhausting. It's why so many people burn out before they even launch. But when you launch early and start getting feedback, you get external validation. Even if the feedback is mixed, it's something real. You know people are actually engaging with what you build. You know your idea is being tested in the real world. You have conversations with users that energize you. You see small wins that keep you motivated. You build relationships with early customers who champion your product. All of this creates positive momentum that sustains you through the hard times. Early adopters are incredibly valuable, and you can only find them by launching early. These are the people who are willing to try new things, even if they're rough around the edges. They're dealing with a pain point that's significant enough that they'll tolerate imperfection if you solve it. These people become your biggest advocates. They give you detailed feedback. They tell their friends about you. They stick with you as you improve. You cannot find these people if you wait to launch something perfect. By the time you have a polished product, you're competing with everyone else for mainstream customers who have high expectations. Let's talk about the practical steps to avoid this mistake. First, clearly define the core problem you're solving. Write it down in one sentence. This is your North Star. Everything you build should connect directly to solving this problem. Second, identify the absolute minimum features needed to solve this problem. Not the nice-to-have features. Not the features that would be cool. The bare minimum that provides value. Third, build only those features. Resist the temptation to add more. Fourth, identify 10 to 20 people who have this problem and would benefit from your solution. These are your test users. Fifth, show them what you built, even if you're embarrassed by how simple it is. Sixth, watch how they use it and listen to their feedback. Seventh, make improvements based on what you learn. Eighth, repeat this cycle. This process might feel uncomfortable at first. You might feel exposed showing people something unfinished. You might feel embarrassed that your product isn't as impressive as you want it to be. Push through these feelings. They're just fear, and fear is rarely a good guide for business decisions. Every single successful entrepreneur has felt these same feelings. Wow. The difference is that they acted despite the fear rather than waiting until they felt ready. Timing matters enormously in business. Markets change. Competitors emerge. Customer needs evolve. But if you spend too long building in isolation, you might discover that by the time you launch, the opportunity has passed. Someone else has already solved the problem. Well, the market has moved in a different direction. The technology you built on is outdated. These scenarios are heartbreaking but common. The only way to mitigate this risk is to engage with the market continuously from the very beginning. There's also something powerful about committing publicly to an imperfect product. It keeps you accountable. It prevents you from endlessly tinkering. Many entrepreneurs get stuck in an endless cycle of just one more feature or just one more improvement before launch. These delays can continue indefinitely if there's no external pressure. By setting a launch date and telling people about it, you create accountability that pushes you to actually ship something. The businesses that thrive are not the ones that start perfect. They're the ones that start learning. They're the ones that adapt faster than anyone else. They're the ones that listen to their customers and evolve based on real needs rather than assumptions. This requires humility. You have to be willing to admit when your assumptions were wrong. You have to be open to feedback that challenges your vision. You have to be comfortable with changing direction if the data suggests you should. Some of the most successful pivots in business history came from companies that launched something, learned it wasn't quite right, and had the flexibility to change. They didn't stubbornly stick to their original vision. They paid attention to what the market was telling them. They noticed when users were trying to use their product in unexpected ways. They saw opportunities they hadn't anticipated. They had the courage to change course. None of this would have been possible if they had spent years perfecting their original idea before launch. The irony is that perfectionism often comes from caring deeply about quality and wanting to do things right. These are admirable impulses, but they need to be channeled appropriately. The time to obsess over quality is after you've validated that people want what you're building. In the beginning, the most important quality is responsiveness to customer needs. Are you building something people actually want? That's the only question that matters in the early stages. Everything else is secondary. This is also why customer development is so crucial. Before you build anything substantial, you should talk to dozens of potential customers. Understand their problems deeply. Understand how they currently solve these problems. Understand what frustrates them about existing solutions. Understand what they would pay for. Understand what features would matter to them. This research doesn't take as long as building a full product, but it's infinitely more valuable. It ensures that when you do build something, you're building the right thing. Even with great customer research, you'll still get things wrong. Well, that's normal and expected. The goal isn't to avoid mistakes entirely. The goal is to make small, reversible mistakes that teach you something rather than big, catastrophic mistakes that end your business. Small mistakes come from testing assumptions quickly. Big mistakes come from betting everything on untested assumptions. Think about the psychology of showing someone an unfinished product. Wow, it's vulnerable. It requires confidence in yourself even when your product isn't perfect. But this vulnerability is actually a strength. It opens up genuine conversation. When you show someone something perfect, they might say, "Nice job," and move on. When you show them something imperfect and ask for honest feedback, you get real, valuable input. People want to help. They enjoy feeling useful. I'll give them the opportunity by being honest about where you are in your journey. The perfectionism mistake also manifests in pricing strategy. Many entrepreneurs wait to charge for their product until it's good enough. They give it away for free because they feel guilty charging for something imperfect. This is a mistake. If your product solves a real problem, even imperfectly, people will pay for it. In fact, having paying customers from the beginning validates that you're creating real value. It also gives you resources to improve faster. Free users are less invested and provide less meaningful feedback than paying customers. Obviously, you need to be transparent. If your product is in beta or early stages, tell people that. Offer an early bird discount or special pricing for people willing to use it despite imperfection. But do charge something. The act of paying money makes people take your product seriously. It makes them actually use it. It makes their feedback more honest and valuable. And it starts building your business model from day one, rather than hoping to figure out monetization later. Another manifestation of perfectionism is overcomplicating your business model. You might think you need a sophisticated multi-tier pricing structure, or a complex freemium model, or an intricate partnership ecosystem. In the beginning, simplicity is your friend. Pick one clear way to make money. Charge one price for one product or service. Make it easy for people to understand what you offer and what it costs. You can always add complexity later once you've mastered the basics. But starting simple lets you focus on the core value you're providing. The same principle applies to your marketing and sales strategy. You don't need a comprehensive multi-channel marketing campaign before you launch. You don't need a perfect website with professional photography and copy. You don't need a large social media presence. You need to find where your customers are and have conversations with them. Maybe that's LinkedIn. Maybe that's industry forums. Maybe that's local networking events. Maybe that's direct outreach. Start with the most direct path to your customers, even if it doesn't scale. Worry about scaling after you've figured out what works. This direct, personal approach in the early stages has huge benefit. You learn so much from one-on-one conversations with customers. You understand their language, their concerns, their decision-making process. You can test your messaging and see what resonates. You can answer objections in real time and learn what concerns people have. All of this information makes your future marketing more effective. But you only get it by having these conversations, which requires launching before you feel ready and personally engaging with the market. There's a concept in software development called continuous deployment. And the idea is that you're constantly pushing small improvements to your product rather than waiting for big releases. This same mentality should apply to your entire business. You should be constantly learning, adjusting, and improving. Not in big dramatic pivots, but in small continuous refinements based on feedback and data. Wall. Oh, this is only possible if you have something in the market that people are using. You can't continuously improve something that only exists on your computer. The confidence to launch imperfect products comes from understanding that your business is separate from your self-worth. Your product is not you. If people criticize it or don't like it, they're not criticizing you as a person. They're providing information about how well your product meets their needs. This emotional separation is crucial. Without it, every piece of negative feedback feels like a personal attack. With it, feedback becomes valuable data that helps you improve. Many people struggle with this because they've invested so much of themselves into their business idea. Oh, wow. It becomes intertwined with their identity. This is understandable but dangerous. It makes you defensive instead of curious. It makes you argue with feedback instead of learning from it. It makes you rigid instead of adaptable. Try to maintain some emotional distance. Be passionate about solving the problem and helping customers, but don't tie your ego to any specific solution or approach. Oh. I know. Oh. The most liberating realization is that you don't have to figure everything out before you start. You can learn as you go. You can make mistakes and recover. You can pivot and try new things. The path to success is rarely a straight line. It's usually messy and winding with lots of trial and error. Embracing this reality rather than fighting it makes the journey much easier. And you stop expecting yourself to have all the answers and start seeing yourself as someone on a learning journey. This is why action bias is so valuable for entrepreneurs. When you're uncertain about something, the answer is usually to test it rather than think about it more. Thinking has diminishing returns. At some point, more thinking doesn't give you more clarity. And only action provides real information. So when you're stuck deciding between options, pick one and try it. See what happens. Learn from it. Adjust it. This bias toward action keeps you moving forward instead of getting paralyzed by overthinking. Let me leave you with this final thought. The biggest regret most failed entrepreneurs have is not that they tried and failed. It's that they waited too long to try. They wish they had launched sooner. They wish they had tested their ideas faster. They wish they had learned earlier what the market wanted. They realize in retrospect that all the time they spent perfecting their product in isolation was wasted. They could have learned in 1 month what took them a year to figure out. Don't let this be your story. Your business idea deserves to be tested in the real world. It deserves to be shaped by actual customer needs and feedback. It deserves the chance to evolve and improve based on reality rather than assumptions. But none of this can happen if you keep it hidden while you try to make it perfect. Perfect doesn't exist. Good enough to provide value and learn is all you need to start. Everything else comes from the iterative process of launching, learning, and improving. The entrepreneurs who win are not the ones with perfect products. They're the ones who start imperfect, listen carefully, adapt quickly, and never stop improving. They understand that building a business is a marathon, not a sprint. It's a long journey of continuous learning and growth. Now, the starting line is whenever you decide to show your work to the world. Not when your product is perfect. Not when you feel completely ready. Not when every detail is figured out. Now, today, with whatever you have, That's when you start. So if you're sitting on an idea, waiting for the right moment, waiting until it's perfect, waiting until you feel ready, stop waiting. Build the smallest version that could possibly work. Show it to people. Get feedback. Learn, improve, repeat. This is how every successful business is built. Not with perfect plans executed flawlessly, but with imperfect actions improved continuously. Your willingness to be imperfect and learn is your greatest competitive advantage. Use it. The world doesn't need another perfect product that never launches. It needs your solution, even if it's rough around the edges. There are people out there right now dealing with the problem you want to solve. They don't care if your solution is perfect. They care if it helps them. Give them the chance to benefit from what you're building. Give yourself the chance to learn what they really need. Give your business the chance to evolve into something truly valuable based on real market feedback. This is the path. Not perfection before launch, but action followed by learning, followed by improvement. Not months of isolation, but continuous engagement with customers. Not rigid adherence to your original vision, but flexible adaptation to market needs. Not waiting until you feel ready, but starting before you feel ready and figuring it out as you go. This is how businesses are built from scratch. This is how dreams become reality. This is how you avoid the biggest mistake that kills most entrepreneurial ventures before they even begin. Now you know. The question is, what will you do with this knowledge?